All right, can you mute your mic? Can you mute your mic so that we start? So, good evening, all of you. Thank you for joining this call, and I will try to keep it as calm, slow, steady as possible so that you can get all the details, and then you ask questions. We'll discuss further to elaborate what you need to know. Our topic today is understanding the rules of melody. Now, before this time, we had already discussed the different components that constitute melody. Today, we want to now discuss how do they put these components together to make good melody. Are there underlying rules that governs that decision? If yes, what are they? That is the essence for this class today. We want to know what are those rules that actually governs the formulation of melody. Just but to do a little recap, we said melody is the tune of a music that is easily sung, remembered, and memorized. So melody can be made to fit free time and meter time. The last time we're discussing, I said when you talk of free time, there are kinds of music that are chant-like. There are music that sounds like speech reading, but they are also music. And a common typical example is the Gregorian chant we use in Catholic worship. You know, the likes of the Kyrie eleison. So, Gloria in excelsis Deo. Those are free time music. They do not have a time signature. So you say them sentence by sentence, phrase by phrase, according to how you speak. That is what Roman Catholic priests used to chant the Mass. The Lord be with you, and with your spirit, lift up your heart. Those are free time. Now, metered music are the ones that are timed with a measure, whether you are counting 4 beats, 3 beats, 2 beats, as the case may be in a bar. But in either case, it is expected that whatever melody you are composing, whether for timed or untimed signature, you should be able to make it in a singable and easy to remember and memorizable form. So these are the basic component features that you need to put or bear in mind. Now, in order for you as a learner to understand how to create a good melody, one of the foremost things you should do is take time to study and analyze composers' music. I know we have started that, but the context and angle from which we discussed analyzing of musical score is to decide what and what constitute the melody. This time, when we want to be doing the analysis, we might want to think deeper. We might want to engage further to discover what are the possible rules that are connecting different music you have observed. There is this pattern or this application of things that you have seen resurfacing in almost all the music you are analyzing. That is how the convention were able to rule out some things as foundational general knowledge that you should have in order to make good melody. Although, even when we say that these are the rules that will govern your creation of melody, bear in mind also that there might be copies or composition that would defy that rule. Exceptions can play. Now, those exceptions can come because somebody is trying to question reality. Somebody is trying to play around intelligence. Somebody is trying to do something awkward and say, what if it looks like this? The what if question is what comes with a philosopher. When you say, don't go into that dark room, the curious man will want to know what is in that dark room. So that is how, once rules are listed out to you, somebody will want to question to say, What if I do otherwise? That is the only exceptions you are likely to get in any of the rules we present to you. Now, rules of melody are many, but in no particular order. I like to say that one of the first and foremost thing you want to know as a rule in making good melody is to actually decide the tonal center. You ask yourself, what key do I want to compose this music? And like I did present here, imagine that you want to build a house. The first thing you would want to do is to buy the plot of land. Now, that plot of land is the key in which you are going to be making your music. Consider the music itself as the house, and then the plot of land is the key you are using to make the whole music. That is where your foundation as well will fall in. So understand that rule first, that you need to decide a key. Now for learners, they will always ask, how do I know that the song is supposed to be in what key? The first thing you want to do is imagine to tell yourself first that what do I want to use as my most lowest comfortable pitch in this song? What will be my most highest pitch in this song? Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, and my screen is showing, right?
Yes.
Very well. Good. Now, by the time you are able to ascertain the key, you can mute your mic. You can mute your mic. By the time you are able to ascertain the key of the music, the next thing you want to do is to now further deciding how you want to structure the building. However, it is important for you to know that choosing key is first and foremost, even before you start patterning your reading, deciding your time signature, where to put some dynamics of up and down. Now, that is why it is clear to say that music is not just an ordinary engagement, but a conscious science of organized art, creativity, put in a very systematic way. So, for one to create melody, even without singing it, you need to factor this thing on ground. So it is possible, so to say, that if you understand this theory of knowing your key, to structure your music even without singing is very possible. Then when you finish patterning your music, you can now begin to ascribe pitches that make it singable. Now, in music, there are actually 30 different tonal centers that you would want to know, that is important for you to know. There are 30. We will discuss key signature on a later time of our discussions, but then know it that we have 30 different tonal centers in music. The first and second is on a natural pitch. For those who learn keyboard and other instruments, especially the keyboard, any song written on key C, on the staff notation, the key signature for key C share the same room with the key signature for A minor. So the C major and A minor, they are two different keys of tonality, but they house them in the same key signature. That is why we call them the two first keys to be considered. Now, the other 7 keys that comes in the sharp series, they have both their 7 majors and 7 minors that share the same key signature correspondingly. The same thing goes to the flat series. They have 7 majors and 7 minors that share the same key signature. When you pick one, it works in pairs. Now, the tonality that differentiates them is that every major key is dependent on a tonic cipher called Do. Now, in minor, every minor key depends on a tonic cipher called La. Now, that is what we know in the current modern day conventional music. But then, in the olden days before now, they don't call it keys, they call it modes. There are different modes. The Ionian modes, the Dorian mode, the Phrygian mode. There are about 7 of them. But in the church, they decide which type of mode that is considered ecclesiastical and which one is not. But like I said, we are not discussing key signature. I only want you to know that it is an essential decision to make when you want to make your music. So for starters, we recommend that you start learning your songs composition with key of C. Or if you are considering a general congregation, do your composition in your key of F. It's more general for everybody. Now, if you are able to decide your key, the next thing is to, of course, move to the rest. But while we do that, look at these songs. This very song, I brought it for analysis to explain something. Every of my examples will come in staff with sulfur notation and at least a melodic lyrics that resonate easily. So you notice that this song is written in the key of C. On tonic sulfur, they will write it on the top of the paper, key C. But in staff, you will see the staff notation without any symbol on the staff. You will see it plain staff. What you just see is the clef, which is the treble clef we have here. The time signature is 4/4. Then the musical notes are placed in the staff. Now, when you check the sulfur, you notice that this song started with so, but look at the ending note. It ended with do, and on staff, this small dash with a note is actually the key of C or the note C on the staff music when you are dealing with treble clef or treble staff. That being the case, it means that the song is written on key C. The one way you know the key note when you are dealing with staff is that go to the last note of the melody part. It always ends on do. If you are confused, if it is a harmony song, check the last note of the bass part. The bass must always end on the tonal center. Every time. Every time. The ending of the music, the bass note must always, underline the word must, always end with the tonic center to show that the song has ended. Now, when we analyze this score, we notice that the song is written in key of C major, and then the key of C major has no sharp or flat sign. Its tonal center note is C. The melody most commonly, so to say, ends on the tonic note. It's just a recap of what I said. Now, the second rule is that you need to decide how many bars do you want to compose this music. For a music learner, someone wants to learn how to compose music, you make do with any of these 3 suggested compositional bar counts. Somebody asked in the group and I answered, why is it in multiples of 2? The simple answer is because we have said it that for a musical sentence to be complete, there must always be the question and the answer phrase. You make a statement, you close the statement. So it is always dual. So the number of bars you are choosing must be such that it should be divisible by 2 without remainder. Even when the number increases up to 12, please maintain the subdivision such that 2 can still divide it further to 1. That is the only way you are going to save yourself some problem. Now, I started by saying the music can be 2 bars, but most time when it is 2 bar, you end up getting ordinary standard motif for a question phrase. So you need another 2 bar that will answer the phrase to make it complete. That is why I began the suggestion with 4 bars. Then when you get 4 bars, if you duplicate your effort, you can get 8 bars. Now, any moment from the 8 bars, you want to do a different kind of form, and that form is called ternary. In ternary form, you may want to do what we call 4-4-4. So the first 4 bars can sing section A, which has a section of it that did A and have a smaller B. Then so A to B gives you the first 4, meaning 2 by 2. Then the second set of 4 at the middle can bring section B. In the section B, you can also break it into 2 sections, question and answer, in 2 bars again. Then the section C will repeat the same melody as you have in section A, maybe with a little differentiation, a little variation, and then it sounds good. And then we give a typical example if I must sing a song for you. But then let's follow something here. Look at this song. This song is written okay, before then let me give this simple example. We have Amazing Grace. Look at it. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Now that first statement now has been dropped. That saved a wretch like me. That's another statement. Now the next one. Dun, 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 dun. Then go back. Pam pam. Dun, dun, dun. What do you notice with the ending? The ending sounds like the beginning. And dun, 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 dun. Look at the ending. Dun, 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 dun. The difference is that towards the ending of the last line, there is now a little change of the note. That's what we mean by doing a section and repeating it at the end. So this is like a ternary form. Section A and B. But in between, there is something that looks like a repetition of the A but different melodic line. However, the rhythm is the same. Now, when you are able to establish the number of bars you want to compose a song so that you decide your form, the next thing is to start with a simple motif. And we discussed and said that a motif is the rhythmic pattern that is used to make your music. It is also the musical idea that you have put on ground in order to develop them with different pitches to make something wonderful. The smallest number of pitches needed for a motif is 2, but it can span between 1 bar to 2 bars, which is perfect. To get a bit longer motif, you need at least 2 bars. Now, the first 2 bars can make a call, the second will make a question and answer, the answer version of it. So it can be a mere pattern just to play rhythm, like I said. Now look at this song. Here we want to create an analysis based on the rhythmic pattern. You can see that if you are tapping on a table to sing this song, which is in key of G, a key of G has 1 sharp. Now you can see that in the first song we did, you will not see anything like that symbol I call sharp. Now you won't see it on this clef immediately after the clef symbol. But look at this song, you can see that there is now a clef sign and a sharp sign on top the last line before the 2/4 time signature. But that's not a concern now. Look at the reading. You see that staff is easier to understand than solfa. Why? Staff will give you a picture-like way to understanding the music. Can you see that the arrangement of the first 3 notes in the first bar is the same way they arrange it in the second bar? The only difference is that they are not on the same line. The first one is on the second line of the staff, but the second pattern is on the second space of the staff. Now go to the third bar. You see that 4 notes are arranged in a pattern that starts from that second space to the second line to the first space, then return to the second line and then drop to the the second space. You see that the person maintained the same level of pitch arrangement, but what happened on the 4th bar, it now did 2 notes that ended, 1 on the space and then 1 on the space under the line. Now, look at that same pattern. You see, the person now repeat the same pattern of the first bar in the second line. He repeat the second bar in the second line, second bar. He repeat the third pattern in the third line, but at the end of it, look at what happened. The same pattern, but the notes of the last bar change with the fourth bar. That is what we mean, that you can do your pattern even when you don't intend to sing. Let's say I want to tap this, or I want to just use la 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 to it. Look at it, it is la 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 la. Now this is just a pattern, it's a reading. Now if I want to sing it with the pitches according to how the solfa is written and how it is placed on the staff, in the key of G, it is do 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 re 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 mi. Yes, yeah, do 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 re re re. The note here is not dropping correctly. I think when I was writing that in, it made a mistake. That thing is on me. So do 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 re 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 mi do ti do re so. Please, that bar is supposed to be on the line, not on the space. Supposed to be on the third line. That's a mistake. Now, the next line, you will see something as do 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 re re re. The same mi do ti do do do. You see the arrangement there now. Please take note. The third bar, the first note there is supposed to be on line, not on space. Likewise, the seventh bar, the note is supposed to be on line, the third line, not on the second space. Please, that's a mistake. So once you're able to establish that pattern, you clap it, you were able to sing the pitches, you are on point. That is one. Then if you proceed, this one is just the analysis you can read up. The next thing you want to do in the melodic rules is, what is the motion like? Somebody asked a question, the difference between motion and types, and I said motion has to do with movement from one pitch to another. The movement from one pitch to another. If the movement is going up, you know that you are using from a low pitch, you are going to a higher pitch. That is a movement upward. If the movement is moving downward, it's from high pitch to a low pitch. That is that. However, while doing that, say good melodies use most times what we call conjunct movement, conjunct motion, stepwise motion, or occasional leaps. Leaps are like jumping. Now, when you are using leaps, you must be creative enough not to do it with a very large distance. Please, the leaps are interesting, they are good, but you don't abuse their use so that you jump anyhow. Your melody will not sound good. It will sound like Nigerian National Anthem. You can see when they compose, all through the melody line from beginning, it's leaping. So, do, mi, so. No connection. You understand? So you can see that movement there. It's just playing around, jumping. No wonder our politicians have been staggering up and down. It's not making sense. Why? The person who composed it has already foreseen that Nigeria will be jumping up and down. That is why in our music, in our schools, children will be learning jumping. I am jumping in class. They don't learn something so very nice. That's by the way. Now, triadic leaps, they are nice, they are good, but then you should be able to apply them logically. Now, look at this analysis. You can tell what we are trying to say again. When you say on key of F, you have mi, so, fa, re. Are you there? Do, re, mi, fa, re. Mi, fa, mi, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Now, from the beginning, you can see that the pattern is the same in the first bar to the fifth. You understand? First bar has to, fifth bar has to, second bar, sixth bar, the fourth bar, the third bar, the seventh. All of them, the pattern of the first line and the second line, they are the same, but the notes, the pitches that are used are not the same. Now, when we now talk of motion, look at the beginning, double notes, and then it went up with a leap. After the second note, it leaped to so, maintain it, you now do a step down, then leap downward, then step down, then climb up with a scale. You see that? There was only a leap from the second note to the third note, then it did a step, then did a leap from the second bar first note to the second note, then it now did a scale on the third bar, 1 2 3 4, then drop down with a leap of a third. Then when you come to the next section, it did not do the same leap that happened in the first bar on the second note to the third. Look at what happened there. From the fa, it did a scale to mi. It is between the fourth note of the first bar and the first note of second bar that it made a leap of a fourth. To la, mi to la is a fourth. Then it now did a scale, downward step, then maintain, did a scale down, did a scale down, did a scale down, and end it with a scale. So the whole of the 7 to 8 bar is a downward scale movement. That is what we are talking about, motion, the movement. The rule number 5 that you should bear in mind, which is a group 1 again, is that when you have a note that is sounding in an unrestful way, do well to give it a proper resolution. Do well to resolve well. That way, your notes will sound complete. So when you have note like fa towards the end of a song, in fact, anytime there is a fa in a chord, you should make sure that that fa goes to, most time in melody, to mi, unless you are doing triadic leap. That is why anytime tenor sings song toward the end and you hear that fa, even without being told, you know that you're taking it to mi. Then another unstable note is T. Anytime we hear T, we know that it's likely going to do. Like that. When you hear Z, you know it's moving to La most times. So all of those resolutions, but sometimes they may also resolve in a third down. They may resolve downward. So instead of fa to mi, you can resolve downward to fa re is okay too. Instead of ti to do, also sometimes when they do ti so, they go down, a third down. Now, the same thing goes with the Z. It might drop down to mi in that manner. It's a rule in melody and harmony to look at. Now, the other statement here that has to do with suggested harmony tone, suggested chords, all of those, we will detail them more when we begin to look at them. So these rules, as you have them, you will one day come back to them and make reference to them. Now, phrasing. Phrasing, I said, is musical punctuation. It helps us to decide which place do we want to create a reasonable rest before we continue. Another place to tell us that we have finished all our statements. We are perfect. So that is phrasing, and I listed them in the group. We have the perfect cadence, the plagal cadence, this imperfect cadence, and the deceptive cadence. There are 4. There are 4. So we'll detail that more again whenever we'll be having the discussion on cadences proper. We'll resolve that. So anything that has to do with question and answer phrase, this is where you decide them. You tell yourself, at this point I want us to have a complete sentence that makes sense to a stop. And then at the middle I want to create tension. So we'll resolve it with an imperfect cadence, craving for continuation. Then the last section, I want it to sound very complete also, like the first statement, and that way we are good to go. In English, there's what we call dependent clause and independent clause. You will notice that the dependent clause is also a perfect sentence of its own, but it does not also show total sense of finality in the definition of sentence that says it communicates a complete thought and idea. At the end of the day, we are relating the same theory in music. The next thing is beauty, aesthetics. You want to look at how beautiful is your melody. The beauty of your art rests in the appreciation given to it. If your song is not made to be singable and memorizable, then trust you me, your melody is not beautiful, it's not fine, it's not nice. Now, if your melody do not show some sense of melodic contour that is so curvy, then we would still tell you that your melody is not nice. What do we mean? We talk about ascending and descending arc-like shape. We need to see it. And then your melody should have a point of climax where we can say that this is the highest note that this song can attain, and because it's the highest note, from that point everything begin to resolve from there towards the end. It makes whole lot of sense. So let there be also variation so that you can keep and sustain interest. The next thing you want to do afterward in analyzing and checking your melody is the range. The distance between the pitches should be reasonably okay and singable, and we'll be discussing this more when we talk about melodic interval. That's a topic we'll be doing in our next episode after this 1 month class. We are likely to bring that up. We talk about interval, and when we talk interval, we have two types of interval: the melodic interval and of course the harmonic interval. It is in the melodic interval we're talking about. For singability, you need to carry out intervals that are distantly singable. You don't just leap anyhow. Imagine you are on do and you want to go to a T in forward, do T. That leap is really not nice. Instead of doing a leap of a seventh, you have to do it a leap of a seventh. You do it a second, which is downward. Instead of do T, it should be do T. It's singable downward at that point than singing it forward. Likewise, leaping from augmented sound or to an augmented or diminished sound. These ones are qualities of intervals that will be discussed much later in the course of our training. Then, after the whole of this presentation made to you now, it is expected that you have a grasp of what the rules are like and what they should be like. At the end of the day, you now need to listen again, follow up again to all the music you have been doing, the simple music. I've always said it, don't bring counterpoint music. Don't bring music that has polyphonic texture. We are dealing with homophony. Let us work in the same accord kind of music, hymns especially, so that you will be able to understand the rules first before you begin to go haywire and picking songs of the likes of Handel, the Mozart and the rest, or classical compositions. No, for now we are talking of using simple church hymn, congregation friendly hymns that are easy to analyze. Once you know them, you can now apply their own pattern into any other creative kind of composition you are making. So as I end here, I expect us that we are going to engage our interaction of this course, this topic, throughout the period of this week, because every week has been designed for a discussion. So we'll follow it all through so that we'll have the best of our benefits we want to get from this lesson. So feel free to ask any question, discuss around the topic. Do not bring questions that will throw us off the balance of our topic general discussion. That way we'll be in check to be able to maintain our learning process very well. I think I will leave it at this level. When we are done, we will later find how we are going to analyze this very music I put at the down score of the updated file called Abide With Me. Thank you, and I hope to take questions from you now.